All right, welcome back. So I gave a presentation this week. So this is the week ending May 10th, 2024, to a group of investors and founders about the Illinois Angel Tax Credit, and doing some research, and I'll put this in the show notes. This actually applies to other states. So depending on what state your business is in, or if you're an investor working from another state, a lot of these states have these, they call it angel tax credits or investor credits. And I'm going to kind of go through a couple slides here on what that means and how it benefits the business, the founder, and how it benefits the investor. And especially if you're a founder and you got a startup, there's no reason why you shouldn't kind of sign up with your local state. First, you want to make sure that they have this in place, but why you wouldn't want to do this, because it's an easier way to kind of attract capital if you're kind of in those early stages. So here's the rules on the Illinois Angel Tax Credit. You know, each state has its own different rules, but the concept is essentially the same. So for Illinois, the whole purpose is to encourage investment in early stage businesses in Illinois. The requirement is the startup company needs to be a qualified new business venture, so QNBV. So businesses, you should register. Obviously, you're registered in Illinois, but you want to register, and I'll show you a link where to do this. And you got to fill out a bunch of different questions, but you want to be a qualified new business venture. So when you're attracting investors, you don't want to lead as this being, hey, we're QNBV, but you can also add that in. It's kind of like a nice icing on the cake. In terms of how these credits are allocated, it's first come, first serve, and it's $15 million on an annual basis. So, for example, in Q1, Illinois kind of, showed how they allocated the tax credits. Minority-owned businesses, 875,000, women disability, 437,000, rural area businesses, 437, and all others, 3.5 million. So this is what the state distributed in credits to those investors of these type of businesses. Okay. Now remember, if you've seen some of my other videos, a tax credit is better than a tax deduction. Okay. So how it works is essentially a business is going to register under this special link. They're going to be, once they're deemed a qualified new business venture, then if a investor invests a minimum of $10,000 and no more than $2 million, that investor can get a tax credit of 25% of their investment. Or if it's a set-aside business, what the state calls a set-aside business, which is a minority-owned, women, persons with disability, and rural, they can get 35% of their investment as a tax credit on their Illinois tax filing. So, for example, if you're an investor, right, angel investors out there are just institutional investors. If you invest $10,000 in a startup that is a QNBV in Illinois, and they're a regular startup, they're not a set-aside, you'll get a tax credit of $2,500. So it's $10,000 times 25% is $2,500, and you can put that on your personal return or your business return. Okay. That's essentially what this is here. Okay. So it's kind of a win-win, right? The company gets your investment money, they get funded, and you get a little bit of that kind of back on your tax filings in Illinois. Like I said, all the states appear to have a similar program, or most of them do. Now here's the catch, and this just applies for Illinois. Okay. So if you're an Illinois business, your principal place of business must be in Illinois. Okay. The potential for increasing jobs in Illinois or increasing capital in Illinois. Okay. So the whole purpose around this is you're an Illinois business, and the reason why you're doing this is you're going to be using this money to increase jobs in Illinois, increase capital in Illinois, right? Building out new facilities, building inventory, hiring people. That's why you're kind of doing this, right? And then here's one of the bigger ones. At least 51% of your employees are employed in Illinois as a full-time employee, FTE. And, ever since COVID, companies have been kind of in this remote work environment. So it's been difficult for Illinois companies to kind of meet this standard here. And there's been a lot of pushback and questioning on this, and, questioning that this component of it needs to change. But this is very important. And when you fill out your application, you got to kind of prove all this out. And then engage in innovation undertaking, pre-commercialization activity related to proprietary technology that includes conducting research. So you're in there for innovation, right? Not engaged in one of these sectors, right? So if you're in banking, if you're lending, if you're in real estate, wholesale, transportation, all these other items or these professions or industries here, if you're in one of these, you won't be a qualified new business venture. Okay. You must have fewer than 100 employees. You must have been in operation in Illinois for less than 10 consecutive years. You receive less than $10 million in aggregate investments. Okay. And then there's a couple more. You must agree to maintain a minimum employment threshold of at least 51% of the business's employee position in Illinois, and at least 75% of the business's employee positions created following receipt of an investment located in Illinois. Okay. And this is for 3 years from the date of the last tax credit certificate. And then you receive less than $4 million in investment that qualified for angel tax credits. Okay. So there's a lot here. There's about 10 items here that the startup company, in order to be eligible, has to kind of meet. I would say that probably the biggest challenge here is the 51%, because you can be an Illinois business and you might have 30% of your employees here and everyone else kind of working remotely. And then here's the website. And again, I'll put this in the show notes, on how you register. Okay. You're going to fill out, a bunch of information. You're going to have to upload your current cap table, passport, state ID, driver's license, screenshot of your Illinois Secretary of State certificate of good standing. And then, so that's the company eligibility. Now, investor eligibility. So you're ineligible if you have direct or indirect ownership interest of 51% or more in the profits capital of this business. Your investment must remain with the business for a minimum of 3 years. And the tax credits will be issued at the end of each quarter on the first come, first served basis. So if you're an investor, you invested $10,000 in February and you wait to claim your credit until August of that year, you're probably going to be too late, because again, it's first come, first serve. Only equity investments are eligible. Tax credits cannot be sold or transferred. And this is a non-refundable tax credit. So what does that mean? That means when you're doing your Illinois tax return filing, and just say before this credit, you owe $2,000, okay, to the state of Illinois. Your credit in the Angel Illinois tax credit, your credit's $2,500. That's more than what you owe to Illinois. You won't get a refund of $500. What happens is that additional $500 gets carried forward, and it could be carried forward up to 5 years. So you don't lose the credit. It's just you don't get money back, but it also reduces your tax liability. And then for investors, the delay here on getting this credit is you're rounding your investment numbers, because you have to fill out a form as well, right? When you're submitting, saying, hey, I did this. But just say you invested $10,999 and you round up and say that you did $11,000. You got to be exact on what you're stating in the form. So if you did $10,999, you got to put $10,999. The date of investment entered does not match the date down in proof of transfer of funds. So if you said you transferred funds, or you made your investment on February 15th, but the proof of your investment was February 17th, that's going to be a delay in your credit. So that's very important. So again, early times, founders here in Illinois, you got to start up less than 10 years. You just want to register for this just to kind of have it. And you can even put this on your website or your funding pages. And then for investors out there, as you make investments, you should ask these companies, hey, you are qualified, because you can get this nice credit. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Thanks for watching.